Imagine That, the podcast where we explore the magic behind the magic of your favorite theme parks. Join us as we pull back the curtain on the creative process, storytelling, and design principles that make Disney parks and beyond so immersive. Whether you're a lifelong fan, a curious creative, or just love spotting the details most people miss, you're in the right place. So get ready to tap into your imagination as we take a deeper dive into the lands, attractions, and stories that bring the parks to life. Let's imagine that together. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Imagine That. I'm your host, Amanda, and today we're talking about the lovely Blair. Before we get started, we want to thank our sponsor, Sunken City Getaway Today, and We're in the Park. And of course, big shout out to our Lamplighters, our Patreons, keeping that conversation going over on our Discord, which, if you have not joined our Discord, what are you waiting for? You totally should. It is free. It is a lot of fun. We're all in there. We're chatting about all things theme parks. And so you should click the link in our show notes and check us out. So before we dive into our topic, let's say hi to the rest of the crew. We have Sam. How's it going, Sam?
Hey, I'm really excited tonight, so let's do this thing. We were just chatting beforehand, and we were worried we were all going to have the same idea, but we're going to add a little bit of spice to our topic tonight. So let's jump into it.
Absolutely. And rounding out the crew, we have Kevin.
Hey there. Who's ready for this? Let's do it.
Absolutely. So I know a lot of you out there in podcast land may have some idea of who Mary Blair is, because in our minds, she is a legend. There are many Imagineers out there, but many of whom we don't know their names, or maybe just in passing, but not really like, what did they actually do? What did they work on? But Mary Blair is one of those Imagineers that you're like, okay, that sounds familiar. I know this. And so we're going to dive deeper. It's hard to say. We're going to dive deeper into her life and how she got into Disney and just what it is that she worked on and the legacy that she's passed on to not only Imagineers today, but also artists around the world. And then we'll do some armchair Imagineering. So let's kick it off with her early life. So Sam, what do we have?
Yeah, so realistically, if you had to imagine Disney without color, you would be imagining Disney without Mary Blair. So she's got all of the shapes, all of the colors, all the things that make Disney pop in film and in some attractions. So world without color would be a world without Mary Blair. She didn't just paint pictures, she painted feelings, and she gave emotional color palettes to everything that she worked on. She was born Mary Robinson in 1911 in McAlester, Oklahoma. And then she spent time growing up in Texas and California. And even as a child, she had an instinct for color, not just using it, but knowing how colors played with each other and played with emotions. So she did attend Chouinard Art Institute in Los Angeles. We know that is one of the leading art schools of the era and a pipeline for Disney talent. Almost anybody who has anything to do with Imagineering, especially in the early days, definitely had some kind of impact from Chouinard. She studied under influential teachers like Pruitt Carter, and that is when she fell in love with modernist art, something that would later set her apart from many of her peers. She started out in animation for other studios, including working for Ub Iwerks, who we know is one of Disney's original animators, and MGM. And then she joined Disney in 1940, but didn't necessarily have the splash into Disney that she hoped for. Kevin, do you want to talk anything more about her early life before we jump into like anything else?
Sure, I have a few things. I wanted to point out with that Chouinard Art Institute, she actually got a scholarship for it. She didn't have a lot of people who were there had a lot of money. They could afford to go there because it wasn't a cheap school to go to. But there's stories about how like after class she would go and get paint tubes that the other students had thrown away because like they're like, it's mostly empty. And she would like carefully get the paint out so she could keep painting with it because she didn't have the cash to just go get all these supplies. Um, which is just crazy to me. Also, she originally went to San Jose State Teachers College. It's currently San Jose State University because she actually wanted to be a teacher. That was her goal in life back before she went to Chenard, where she met her husband, her future husband at that time, Lee Blair, which is where her name came from as far as Mary Blair. So I think that's all the little gaps I had in my storyline so far for getting there. For her up iWorks career, I was trying to figure it out because like there's so many sources out there that give information that conflicts with each other. Where they're saying that she worked on, well, definitely for Lee at least, because Lee worked there first. It feels like that's kind of the story is
Mhm.
that Lee would get a job at an animation house. That's her husband. They got married in 1934, the same year they started working in animation. And shortly afterward, Mary would get a job there as well because she was really good at color. That was kind of her thing. Is like at that point in time, cartoons were starting to become in color. Like the early can't even say Flip the Frog cartoons from of iWorks were actually released in the UK in color, but not in the US. That was kind of her job was to make sure the colors looked correct. So it was like a weird two color system to make color cartoons. I don't know all the details on that, but the
Nor do I.
timings were
I
though.
am not an artist, but
Right. The timings were though, because like the Flip the Frog cartoons like stopped being produced in 1933, but they got the job with UB in 1934. So I don't know. It's a little weird as far as like what were they actually doing? I don't really know.
at the time, Up iWork Studios was doing a bunch of animated shorts
Yeah, that's
that
what the
I
Flip
don't
the Frog
think,
cartoons were.
yeah. So I don't think that if they did anything, I don't know if they did anything else.
Yeah. I know UB iWorks closed his studio in 1936. But Mary Blair and I believe Lee were also still working for MGM, who's what was working for. They switched over to Hugh Harmon and Rudolph Ising's branch over there
Hmm.
to work on the Happy Harmonies cartoons. They were kind of
Hmm.
a competitor with Merry Melodies and Disney's Silly Symphonies. So yeah, so
I think it's,
1940. Oh, what was that?
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So say 1938 is when Lee Blair got hired by Disney. And then Mary actually took over Lee's job as the color director at Harmonizing, which is interesting, before she moved over to Disney in 1940, which I guess is where the story continues.
So I think it's important to mention that, while her credits at a Bywork studio were not grandiose, but that was an opportunity to like give her those animation credits and those art credits that put her in circles that eventually led her to Disney in 1940, like you were saying, Kevin, because Up Iwerks was one of Walt Disney's closest collaborators. And we know that he was co-creator of Mickey. But his independent studio never reached the scale that Walt's did. And there were a lot of artists that did start with him. And then later moved on to bigger opportunities with Disney or MGM. So while Mary didn't necessarily leave an artistic stamp in his studio the way that she later did at Disney, it was definitely one of her first industry jobs and a stepping stone into animation. And we know that sometimes those smaller footnote positions can open up huge doors, especially in this industry. So it's definitely worthy to note that that was her start, because that circle was very important.
I guess we should also point out then with that in that vein, like when they started working in animation, like at those houses, they were planning to be like actual like watercolor artists, but it was the Great Depression, and they
Yeah.
weren't able to make money doing that, which is why they got that the in those roles, but they did not love the idea of doing it. There's quotes out there from Lee Blair saying like it was beneath our standards, but we needed to eat, and Mary Blair saying that their job in those fields were a Jekyll and Hyde existence where they really wanted to do their own art, but they felt that they had to do that other work just to make a living. So it's just kind of
Yes.
interesting, like she wasn't seeing it as a stepping stone. She saw it as kind of like the side gig while she was able to get
Yeah.
her actual art career going.
Yeah. So she didn't realize it at the time, but she was also pioneering for women in the field, because women in fine art at that time wasn't a huge thing. So especially not on such a mass entertainment scale. So
Yeah, definitely.
I think,
Women in lead roles in animation were not a thing that existed. It's true.
I mean, women in fine art in general at the time, there, like you said, there was a lot going on in the country at that time. It was the Great Depression.
Yeah.
There were limited opportunities, and for her to pioneer in such a field is a great testimony to her.
Yeah, but just to go back to what you guys were saying, it's sometimes those first jobs that we all have that really define, like, okay, I definitely don't want to do this, or I really want to go down this direction. And I think being in that environment, because she could have easily been a teacher,
Mhm.
if that was truly her passion, which would have been fantastic in and of itself, and all the people that she would go to inspire and teach in that regard. But because she was in this industry and being able to work with other creators and seeing in this environment, I think was that light bulb of, hey, okay, this is a different direction that I can go in, and pave my own way through this avenue. So I think that's
And
really, really cool.
I think that's kind of why I called it like pioneering, because
Yeah.
women at that time, it was natural for women to become teachers. Like that was a natural role for women at that time to fulfill. But to step into this arena and kind of like realize you have this natural talent, and you're not the typical face of someone that they are going to celebrate and accelerate in this role, she made it happen.
Yeah.
So kudos to her.
Well, speaking of people who are making things happen, we are going to take our first break and hear from someone who is making all kinds of things happen in his world, and that is our good friend Louis Medina with Sunken City Designs. So let's hear from him. We'll be right back.
Sunken City Designs brings you art. Do you like art? I know I do. How about art based on Disney characters, like Mickey Mouse and the Oyster Thieves? You know, that's actually from Alice in Wonderland, the best princess movie ever made. Also, we have some dwarfs that have their heads ripped off sometimes. Why? I don't know. It's because it's Sunken City Design. So go there, sunkencitydesign.com. Get yourself some great merchandise. You got posters and, I believe, clothes. Who knows? I got a cup from there, and it's fantastic. Do you like cups? Do you ever use those? I do. Go for it. Oh yeah, sweatshirts. Can't forget about those. If you're ever cold, get yourself a sweatshirt from sunkencitydesign.com. Also, Wall-E. You know, that's the best movie ever made. Second only to Alice in Wonderland. All right. If you also like Walt's apartment, they have merch for that too. Where? sunkencitydesign.com. Hopefully you've already loaded up that site and you're looking at it and you have some items in your cart. Go ahead and check out as soon as you can, because the show's about to come back on. All right, everybody. We appreciate you.
We do appreciate Lou. Be sure to check out his Instagram, Sunken City Design, because there is all kinds of news that is coming out of that page. So definitely get plugged in. And speaking of color, every single piece he has is filled with color. So it's just a great segue all the way around. So let's get back into it. So she's at the studios with and then what happens? How does she get into Disney?
Her husband did first, right, Kevin?
That is correct.
Right.
You know, it's interesting, actually. In 1940, the year that Mary Blair got hired by Disney as a sketch artist, is the same year that Up Iwerks actually went back to Disney as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
He
kind of
said,
like,
we're taking her with.
yeah, right.
But ironically, at the time, her art wasn't necessarily the style that, well, she really hadn't even had developed her own original style yet. She kind of had ideas of what she wanted to do. And like we said, she was kind of placating what was wanted at the time in all of her other positions. But at the time, Disney's house style was like this rich, realistic animation, like Snow White, Pinocchio, and Mary's artwork was a bit more modern for the time, and it didn't quite match. So that was when things changed for her, though, because a year later in 1941, Walt invited her alongside her husband on the Good Neighbor Policy Tour of South America. So that was part of the US government's initiative to strengthen their cultural ties during World War II. So she went with Walt, her husband, who was also an artist at the time for the company, a team of other Disney creatives, and she traveled to Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and Peru. And it was on that trip that Mary's style exploded into what we know today, becoming more vibrant, more geometric, and just playful, whimsical. She was filling sketchbooks with bright houses, patterned clothing, sunlit landscapes, and Walt took notice. Her artwork from that trip stood out so much that he began building films around her look. Think Saludos Amigos and the Three Caballeros. Before we jump into her film work, Kevin, anything you want to add about that Goodwill tour or anything else in her early career at Disney before that?
Yes, a big asterisk on that one, because she wasn't exactly invited by Walt Disney to go on
Right.
this trip with them. He invited her husband, who was still working at the Disney company, because she'd actually quit Disney a few months earlier. And
I didn't know that part.
when she learned that her husband was going to be going on this trip, she actually got upset. According to her son Kevin in the Walt and El Grupo documentary that's on Disney Plus, you can
Oh,
actually see
that's
the
right.
interview that he's on there explaining like my mom found out about this and she was upset and like was telling like her husband like his dad like you have to take me with you. He's like, how about you go pretty yourself up a little bit, go over to talk to Walt and see if he'll let you join. Essentially like go ahead and try, and apparently she did, and Walt was like, fine, you can go with us. So he rehired her and she was able to go on the trip. So it's just kind of a weird like, because everyone tells the story as like Walt invited her personally to come join them. Like you can see
That's how
that
I've
it
read it, but
sourced
I
like
forgot I
100
did.
locations.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did
it
watch
wasn't until I was watching,
Walt and El
yeah, watching that
Greco,
I
and
was
I
like,
forgot about that.
yeah, I was like, that's a different version of the story that no one else is repeating. That's very interesting. So yeah, so she forced herself
Oh,
onto that trip, and like you said, thankfully she did, because she changed the art style of the Disney company. A lot of places that are
that was
inspired by
amazing.
the Mary Blair look that was really forged during that trip. So so we're all
So do
lucky
you
that she
think
had
that
the
so she had left the company. Walt didn't say, "Hey, you're fired." She had left the company on her
no,
own accord
no,
because she was
yeah,
not, I mean, we don't know the exact reason why. I don't know at least, but as I said earlier, her stylized art wasn't necessarily what the company was looking for at that time, wasn't necessarily what, you know, was being pushed out to the media. Um, but
all that I could
everything
find
happens
was
for a
that,
reason, and Walt could have still known that her talent was there hiding underneath. Walt always knew. He
right,
always knew.
right. The only things that I can find that she worked on from 1940 to 1941 while she was there was some concept art for Dumbo, which looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't have the Mary Blair look that we know today,
Right.
but it looked like it would make sense as concept art for the movie. And then she worked on a segment called the Baby Ballet for a Fantasia sequel that never came out. So
Uh,
I don't know if like she just felt like, why am I even doing this at that point? You know, where she was a
Right.
project that it got canned, and she's like, I just want to go do other things. So that's when she walked away. And but yeah, like I said, thankfully she came back.
Yes.
are you guys ready to jump into her films that she was shaping at the time?
Oh
Let's
yeah,
do it.
definitely.
So, like we said, 1942, Saludos Amigos, and 1944, The Three Caballeros, which were the direct results of the South America trip. And, she took her color inspirations and the cultural influences that she had experienced and helped with the stylings of those films. Then she moved on to Cinderella in 1950, that soft fairy tale palette that just has that like glow of this is what a fairy tale should be. That's all Mary Blair. Um, her coloring, like the pumpkin coach glowing golds against the midnight blue. I mean, that when we think of Disney animation, that's what we think, right? Like that's a fairy tale. That is a fairy tale. The bizarre, charming backgrounds that are twisted and contorted and out of this world for Alice in Wonderland. Mary Blair. Peter Pan. Her Mary's touch turned Neverland into a place that was just these beautiful painted skies, magical forest, whimsical pirate hideouts. And her concept art was so distinctive that most of her painted designs made it almost completely unchanged to the screen. So like Lou wants to talk about concept art, right?
Yeah. I was
Mary
thinking the
Blair.
exact same thing, like, "It's an exact match, this is exactly what you gave me." Yeah.
That's what you got from Mary Blair. They were like, this is beautiful the way you presented it to us. Let's use it.
Yes. And
Oh.
I love the bold colors. She's definitely not afraid of color. And like we said, like at the early days, that was brand new. Is and to have such stark contrast between the color palettes and stuff, it is a very uh dra- contrast from what was happening in earlier work. So here she bursts onto the scene with all of this color, and it like today, like it captures our like everything we know about Disney is colorful and magical, and it's I think
She
she
created an
has a lot of
emotional
pull.
response for us in these
Yes,
films. And now that emotional
yes.
response carries over into attractions and into merchandise. And
Yep.
that just has become the Disney style. That's our nostalgic Disney color, our nostalgic Disney backgrounds, like everything that we know that creates that magic in movies and in attractions is become part of the inspiration that Mary Blair has created. Kevin, anything you want to
Ke-
say about the
Kevin's
films?
Kevin's got like this look on his face.
He's like,
I'm like,
stop,
He's
well,
like,
Sam.
all of
we
you
might
guys
be
are wrong.
overselling it a little bit, you know.
Oh
It's
my
fine.
god.
Again, Mary Blair
Oh
is
my
wonderful. I
gosh.
love Mary Blair. I'm on the
Yeah.
record saying this. Um, so for like Saludos Amigos, for example, right? Like Mary Blair did work as an art supervisor on that. It's true.
Hmm.
But she's also on like the title card with her husband Lee Blair and Herb Ryman and Jim Bordero and Jack Miller. Like they're all on the list as art supervisors. Same section on there, right?
Mhm.
According to IMDb, she specifically worked on the Donald Duck visits Lake Titicaca segment in that larger movie. So it's not like
Mhm.
she like developed the entire film. It's not like everything followed her look. I know there's a lot of sources out there that explain that she was kind of always upset, and even Walt Disney was often upset that the animators didn't really stay true to her concept art or to her vision, and they would complain saying like, "Do you know how hard it is to animate what she is creating?" You know, but he would still be like, "Figure out a way to do it." But
He's
yeah,
like,
so
this
like
is what I
the look
want.
that she had, yeah, exactly. Like, he liked it, like she liked it, but a lot of animators didn't really grasp like how to translate it to the screen. Um, he skipped a lot of different things she worked on because there were a lot of other projects. She had Make Mine Music, where she's on the title card. She
Mhm.
created the backgrounds for those guys for the title cards, they say. Song of the South, apparently, she was actually a pretty big part of, controversially, I guess, in modern era, where she actually went to Georgia for research for that movie and did a lot of work to get like the look of the plantations correct and stuff. You know, like little things like that. It's like, okay, well, she was working on a project. I don't know her actual viewpoints on things, so that's fine. She also worked on Fun and Fancy Free, Melody Time,
Mhm.
of these little shorts that like are famous now and like people still
Yeah.
watch them. They're available on Disney Plus. She also was big on the short, I guess the half of The Wind in the Willows and the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad like movies. She was part of the Adventures of Ichabod side of it more than the Mr. Toad side,
Oh,
where
wow.
she did a
I did
lot of
not
the
know
lighting
that.
for that. Yeah.
Not as
So that she set
colorful.
the mood for the whole headless horseman like encounter. So things like that. She also worked on So Dear to My Heart, which if you're a big Disney park fan, you would know that So Dear to My Heart, not the best movie, but was actually a big inspiration for Disneyland existing, because Walt was working on a Disneylandia project around the same time where he was making miniatures of scenes from that movie that he was planning to like take on a train from town to town. And he eventually never did that, but that's what kind of sparked everything that turned into Disney parks. And she was a big part of that movie as well. So as far as like, I wouldn't say she was Imagineering at that point in time, but she did go to Indiana. She did a lot of the work to like get the look for that movie. Um, and yeah, so it's just kind of an
Did you say
interesting,
she
like,
went to Indiana?
that's what the notes say.
Who would ever go to Indiana?
You didn't know
You
that
find so
the
much
state that you
inspiration in
live in
Indiana.
is so pivotal to the Disney parks existing. That's why you're part of the show, I thought.
Yeah, just so we
No,
have
I
that, that
was
connection.
just making a joke. I just wanted you to
Oh,
mention I was
so
from
was I.
Indiana,
Yeah,
Kevin.
so
That's fine.
It was our Wi-Fi that was bugging out earlier, so it's fine. Who knows where we're from? Also, after Alice in Wonderland, she actually worked on some shorts, including Susie and the Little Blue Coupe, which is kind of a big deal because if you don't know what that short is, it's like a little car that has eyes and like emotes and stuff.
Oh,
But
like Herbie?
according to not Herbie doesn't have eyes like that, right? Herbie's just a car that emotes, right? But as far as the big eyes, that became the inspiration behind the movie Cars, because
Oh,
the
hey,
Okay.
people
Mary
of
Blair, look at you,
Pixar
sis.
loved Mary Blair. So I don't know. I was reading an article. I was trying to find which one it was. I read so many articles
Yeah.
during the research on this. Again, I went down the rabbit hole for Mary Blair because that's what you do when you look up stuff about Mary Blair, because
Yeah.
all Alice in Wonderland connections. But one of the first exhibits after she passed away. Spoiler alert, everyone. She passes away in the
She's no longer
storyline.
with us.
Um,
Yeah.
Oh, how sad.
but um, but her family was reached out to by Pete Docter from Pixar because they didn't want to do an exhibit about her over at the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. But he was like, no, you don't understand. Her art is pivotal to what we've been doing. Like, we are all huge fans of hers. You need to make this happen. So, like, Pixar,
I
like, if you look
mean,
at a lot of their movies, especially Pete Docter projects, you can see the Mary Blair, like, effect in there. Especially, like, the intro to Monsters, Inc. with the doors. That's all Mary Blair.
just like you said earlier, though, like there were a lot of people in Disney that did not understand her vision.
Oh, no.
And but Walt like championed for her work, and he would like you said, he would overrule others to keep her designs intact. And he would say like that her color could bring warmth and personality to the coldest technical process as far as animation goes. So it's important to remember that at the time she was a woman in a male dominated industry in the 1940s and 50s. There were like female art or ink and paint artists, but very few women had the creative authority that Mary like wielded. It's crazy to think of the influence that she actually had on Walt, and then the fact that like not and now like we're saying like there's a lot of influences that spanned decades, right? We're talking about her all these years later, and there are exhibits, and like you said, Pete Docter is like, no, this has to happen. She's our inspiration. She really she really left an impression. So I'm glad we're talking about her
Yeah.
today.
Definitely. Also,
So if
like,
you,
oh, sorry,
well,
were you
Kevin's got
gonna?
if
more
you,
facts, Amanda.
Just a few
I
more
know it's
things.
okay. But wait, I just wanted to ask, like,
Yeah,
is this the car that you were referring to
so that's
with the,
little Susie there. Yeah,
That's little
with
Susie.
the
Hey, little
Susie, the
Susie.
little blue. Right there, her eyes are closed, so you can't really tell she has
yeah,
eyes. But there
yeah,
is
you
She's
art that
can,
she has out
cute.
there with like the full eyes. That's full on cars.
uh,
She's
I mean, you can
because
see
the other
cute.
like the mouth is
pictures,
where it is, the eyes where they are. I mean, it's
yeah,
yeah,
So if
the
they
you
other
didn't
want
hide
to
it.
pictures
see
were
what we're
from,
talking about,
yeah,
join our apps. Subscribe to us on YouTube because we're showing them
yes,
on the
because we're
screen right now.
showing pictures that Joey and Courtney took at the Walt Disney Family Museum up in the Bay Area for this Mary Blair exhibit. So there's all kinds of different um, displays and pieces. Very, very cool stuff. I love the Peter Pan um, art that they have on display. Going back to your point, Sam, of just how, like, look at that bold color. Like, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. So, but yes,
Everything
so I just
just
wanted to,
invokes a response.
yes.
What
All
I was
right.
about to say was the her art, and I believe he was working there at the same time as her. There was another artist for Disney named Ivan Earl, who is famous as an artist who also did a lot of concept art for later movies after Mary Blair left. But he used her style because he was a big fan of hers. So as far as Mary Blair not continuing past, she worked on Peter Pan, and that was kind of her last movie.
Mhm.
She also did concept art for Lady and the Tramp back in the 1940s, before that movie came out in 1955. But she'd already left the company by that point. Um, but the point though is that her stamp still stayed at Disney because David Earl was kind of continuing her legacy after she left.
Yeah,
Which is really, really cool.
definitely.
All right. So I think that is a fine place to hear from another one of our sponsors. And we were talking about her traveling and going on faraway places to for research and all these things. And you can too with our good friends over at Getaway Today.
It's been a great show so far, but who's ready for an ad break? Did you know that the best way to keep our shows going is by supporting our sponsors? So, let's get to know more about the travel experts at Getaway Today. They've been helping to make vacation dreams come true since 1990. And whether you want to visit the happiest place on earth or to travel to Orlando for a most epic adventure, they are there to help. Are you trying to find out which hotel is your best option or which theme park tickets will work best for your visit? Are you concerned that you might need a last minute change? No worries. Their travel experts will help you out. Looking to book a cruise but don't know where to start? Hey, they can help with that too. They will find the perfect cruise for your vacation, whether it's your first time or you're a well-seasoned cruiser. When you book your cruise with one of the Getaway Today experts, you will have a dedicated agent to help you every step of the way. They take care of the details so you can have the most fun. Getaway Today offers peace of mind travel, allowing you to cancel or make changes up to 72 hours before your trip. You will always have the most up-to-date vacation information, both pre-arrival and upon welcome. Getaway Today guarantees the best prices, with no hidden fees, and every time you book through Getaway Today, they will donate a portion back to a charitable organization in your area. And so far, over $4.5 million have been donated. So go ahead and dial 1-855-GETAWAY, that's 1-855-438-2929, and be sure to tell them that Walt's Apartment sent you. Or just click the link in our show notes for more information and the best deals to start your Disney, Universal Studios, or cruise vacation planning. What I'm trying to say is, if you like to travel, check out Getaway Today. Alright, so now it's time to get back to enjoying that view from Walt's apartment. Let's get back to the show.
All right, and we're back. So we were talking just a little bit about some different things throughout the parks that have been inspired by Mary Blair's work. But what else can we take from the parks, and what legacy she's left?
Well, there's actually a huge legacy that she left outside of the parks too. But as far as in the parks, there's this like obviously Small Worlds.
What's that one?
That one. Obviously, she inspired the Three Caballeros and Saludos Amigos. So seeing Grand Fiesta Tour, that has her inspiration in it too. But some of the things that I'll talk about. So she's got artistic fingerprints, I guess, left all over the parks. There is a massive 90-foot mosaic mural in the Contemporary Resort with her signature like five-legged goat hidden in the design. And then she's got murals in like Disneyland's Tomorrowland. She did. They've been removed since. And then I don't know what else, Kevin.
All right, so
you go into the you dive
I
into
was
it.
trying to figure out, like, I was going down that rabbit hole as well because I said, like I said before, it's Mary Blair. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Really, the big thing is it's a small world. You know,
Yeah.
we don't want to gloss over that. I want to go into some more detail on that. And the murals. Yeah, that's about it as far as like what she was actually hired as an Imagineer to work on for the parks. One that big mural is over in the Contemporary Resort, which normally I think even back then, like Imagineering and those hotels weren't considered the same department, but
Mhm.
they hired her because I don't know if Walt was involved with hiring her because obviously like that was put in 1971 after Walt's death, so it's not like he could demand that they hire her to do it. But she did. As far as that five-legged goat, I know I've read places before that have kind of uh, been like, we don't know if that was actually her design to do that. Some places out there say it's because of like Navajo tradition to have an imperfect thing in your art, but I don't know if that's just kind of a retcon to make it seem it's correct. It could just be that whoever was translating Mary's art to the tiles accidentally put a tile in the wrong spot or painted a leg in the wrong spot. We actually don't know if that was Mary Blair's intention or not. But if you haven't seen it, it is fun. It's still great to catch. It's still a beautiful work of art.
Mhm.
But yeah, so there's kind of like that debate that's out there though.
I kind of like the Navajo route because she did like to add like cultural influences into her artwork. Um, but really, she didn't do a whole lot as far as Imagineering goes beyond that. In the mid 1950s, though, she did leave animation or full-time animation. She did other stuff in animation, but she felt like she was creatively ready for other challenges, and she started working as a freelance illustrator, producing children's books, advertising work for major brands, and then like designing stage sets and stuff. But she never fully left Disney. So like if Walt needed something special, she would come back. So like for the World's Fair, he called her back, and that's when her masterpiece of It's a Small World came around. Walt wanted a ride for the Pepsi Pavilion, which she was actually already doing illustration and design work for Pepsi Cola at the time. She was doing some of their advertising. So I guess it kind of like played together well. So Walt wanted a ride for the Pepsi Pavilion that celebrated the children around the globe. We know that's what we got for Small World. And her design became the heart of the attractions. Flat, stylized children, geometric landscapes. The way she played with shapes was just so different than anything else that anyone else was doing. It was bold, bright colors. And her characters aren't just cute, like they embody joy, optimism, unity, because she was able to invoke those emotions with her stylized art. Uh, and then she turned it into a political sponsorship with like a timeless statement about harmony. And then after the World's Fair, the attraction we know was moved to Disneyland, and her designs became a permanent part of Disney park culture, which is still getting upgraded. We just got the last verse of the Sherman Brothers song added in both parks now. So I think it's great. But she's actually done a lot for Little Golden Books, which was surprising to me in my research. So she did a lot for Nabisco as well as promotion for their promotional artwork for Johnson and Johnson. She did a lot of their advertising, and then she was designing like handkerchiefs and greeting cards because it's the 50s. Of course, everybody's walking around with fancy ass handkerchiefs, right? But think about her stylized art in somebody's pocket square. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah.
It makes you wanna go back to the advertising of that time period, and now that you have an idea of her style, see if you can spot it, because
Mhm.
obviously these companies are hiring her because she brings something bold, something different, something eye-catching, and like we talked about, it immediately resonates with you, and that's what branding wants, is something that's going to
Mhm.
resonate, and really stand out and be that eye-catching thing as soon as you flip to the page in the magazine or see an ad somewhere, you want it to grab somebody's attention, and her work does that. So it's
Does.
obviously a perfect match, and that's awesome that so many companies picked her up to do that.
Yeah. So all the
As far
way.
as
Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
sorry, as far as the Little Golden Books, I think it was interesting that like one of her first books is a book named Baby's House, but it actually came out
Mm-hmm.
in 1950, and she
Yeah.
worked on that in 1949, the same year that she was working on The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Pippin,
Mm-hmm.
so dear to my heart. So
Yeah.
she was working for Disney while also on the side doing Little Golden Books. I
Yeah.
know a lot of places say that she's one of the few Disney employees that were allowed to work remotely because
Mm-hmm.
her and Lee moved over to I think Long Island, New York, and they continued to work for the Disney company after they left. So it's kind of a weird, like, I don't know how she balanced that exactly, but
Actually,
interesting.
one of her little golden books is one of the most notorious little golden books of all time. It came out a year after the Baby's House one, called I Can Fly. And it is one of the most prominent, most sold little golden books of all time. And then another one that she did that was really popular is the Up and Down book. So, I mean, I've got some of those in my collection. So,
Did
she
you
did.
know? Did you know that they were Mary Blair's before
No, I
they
did not.
entered your collection?
No.
That's even better.
Right.
Yeah. No.
You're like,
I've
wait,
had
I have
them
a
for
piece of Mary Blair.
years. Yes.
That's
But looking back at them now knowing that, if you look at them, you're like, oh well, yeah, now I know it's Mary Blair. Like,
I'm like,
that's her style.
well, yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And now I'm like, I wish I wouldn't have let children put their hands all over them.
Oh no, collector's items.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. I'm a kindergarten teacher, so it happens. Everything gets destroyed, but they enjoyed it, so that's all that matters.
I did want to go through a little more on It's a Small World.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, in my research of that, Mark Davis was actually originally like the guy who was supposed to work on this project. That's who Walt went to first, because they came up with the idea of like, hey, we're going to quickly put in an attraction for Pepsi, for UNICEF, about the children of the world. It's going to be this great thing showing that we're all united. Hey, Mark, work on something for this. And Mark started doing, like, his art of little like kids and stuff doing this based off of Walt's idea. And Walt's like, no, where's Mary Blair? So he personally requested Mary Blair on, like, everything I've looked up. Nothing is like conflicted with that, so I believe it.
Yeah.
And then she became in charge of the overall design and color styling of the attraction. She's actually the person who suggested Alice Davis create the costumes for the children in the rides.
Yes.
So she didn't create all the costumes. She didn't do concept art for every single, because again, this was a tight turnaround.
Yeah.
It was like less than a year, I think, between them announcing that they were going to do it, or agreeing that they were going to do it, and them actually installing the ride and opening it. So she just made the color styling, okay, we're going to have this vibe to it. Then she suggested Alice Davis. Blaine Gibson actually designed and sculpted most of the animated dolls, as far as like the faces on them being all like, obviously from her inspiration, because she did the concept art for it.
Yeah.
But the reason why it's three-dimensional is because Mary Blair did not do three-dimensional. I know.
No.
I've read Rolly Crump's, like, it's kind of a cute story where he talks about It's a Small World and working on it with Mary Blair, where it's like, that was not her wheelhouse. She was, here's this flat image, now you do something with it. And that's what this team did. Harriet Burns actually painted the faces on all the dolls with Leota Toombs, years before Leota was put into the ball in the seance room at the Haunted Mansion. And obviously, like you said, the song was by the Sherman Brothers, which without that song, it's kind of one of those age-old debates of like, what makes it a small world? Is it the look or the song? And obviously it's both, right? It's the team effort here that created It's a Small World into what it is. If you had one or without the other, you wouldn't have anything.
8,000,000,000%.
Also with the tile murals that she did afterward, there was in 1966, the year before the Tomorrowland murals were created, there was a UCLA Stein Eye Institute that reached out to Walt Disney because he was like friends with Dr. Jules Stein, apparently. And they were like, hey, we need for you to create something for our waiting room for kids. And he was like, I have just the person for you. So he called Mary Blair. Again, this was 3 years after It's a Small World. She wasn't working for the company. But he was like, hey, Mary, can you do this? And she did. And it's still there today, apparently. We haven't gone by to look at it. I don't know if they let just anyone walk in there. I saw a little documentary on YouTube where they actually restored it all in 2018, and so it's looking good now. But yeah, so it was after she created that, though. That was her first.
I feel like
tile
that's
mural.
not the appropriate place to go, like, try and see if you can get a sneak peek.
Exactly.
No.
But I'm sure people do it. It's like, hey, guys, this is history here, guys. It's Mary
Yeah,
Blair.
but I feel like we don't want to
There's
be
a
those
line.
people. Yeah.
I have weird eyes. I can pretend I'm there for a reason. So I mean, we actually need their help. I don't really know. It's more
You
of the
might
other.
actually benefit from their help.
Right?
That's a
Just
fair
go over
point.
there. But yeah, so it was the
Anyway.
murals that were created after it in Tomorrowland were created because of her work on that. If it wasn't for her work on that project, they wouldn't have been like, oh, hey, Mary, we're working on the new Tomorrowland. We need to do something to, like, make these walls not look like just concrete. So that's the reason why they added her art there. But personally, I know when I was a kid, because they took one of those down when they put in Star Tours, because there were
Hmm.
two at one point in time. And one of my first times going there, the one mural was still up. Like most of my like childhood, the one above where Buzz Lightyear is today was there. And I remember thinking like, why do we have this weird 1960s art in Tomorrowland? Because to me, it didn't seem as modern. Like when they put it in, like it was ahead of its time modern art. But by the time like, the 90s and early 2000s came around, it was kind of like,
Hey,
yeah,
we
no,
saw
that
this
looks
5
like
years
it's
ago. Yeah.
yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
it's a small world. That's an old ride, So it's kind of
Yeah.
a yeah. So I've heard mixed things on whether or not those tiles are still just behind the veneer they put over it, or they smash those tiles off and just put that over where it used to be. I don't know which one's true. I like to hope in my heart that it's still there, but I don't really know.
And I
I
think that everything you just said is sorry, Amanda, did you want to
No,
jump in
I
there?
was just gonna add, I think that we've seen different videos that if the lighting and the angle is just right, you can see the tile behind it. But I
You can
don't
see a
know
little
if
bit
that
of like
was
spots. Yeah,
yeah. So we'll have to go and inspect at
like I
different
said,
times of day. Yeah.
my heart
But
says it's there.
Yes.
Kevin, everything you just said about how these were such large team projects, as we've said, she didn't leave a huge stamp in the parks. She left a huge inspiration. She was very inspirational. She left a footmark where other people could take the things that she was painting and bring them to life with their specialties, with their talents. So she created something, honestly, that ended up being a challenge for a lot of people, as we've said already, that Walt's like, no, this is what we're doing. You need to figure out how to make it happen. Um, and now it's really cool that we still get to see those things. So we do know that into the 1970s that Mary Blair continued with freelance illustration and personal painting projects. Unfortunately, she passed away in 1978, I believe. Kevin, fact check me maybe. Um,
Correct.
but like, we're still talking about her today, just like we do all of those early Imagineers, because they created this Disney sphere that we, still get to enjoy today. She got her Legend Award in 1991, and her art has been showcased worldwide. So she's like left it. She's left an impact. She's left an influence, and her artwork is everywhere. So we're lucky to have had the influence that she's left.
Absolutely.
Do you want to just to be the downer in the group here? There
Oh,
is this
There he
Kevin.
SantaCruz.com
goes.
article
Oh,
by a guy named Jeffrey Dunn back in 2014.
Well, he
It's a
sounds
very
about done
interesting read,
already.
right? Again, it's a very interesting read where he explains that back when he was like in high school, he met the Blairs because they were living in his hometown, and he didn't realize that that they were famous at all, especially Mary, because like his description of Mary Blair is not great. Like she was just like a chain smoker drinking alcohol every day on the sofa is kind of the way he saw this lady, like just kind of wasting away. And she actually passed away with a cerebral hemorrhage, which if you look it up, it's usually caused by liver damage, which they say
Yikes.
is most likely due to her alcoholism, which is just tragic considering like how much we all love her today. Kind of the point is that she wasn't like in her lifetime she didn't see this, she didn't get the accolades, she wasn't the Disney legend, she didn't get the awards. Like she won some awards in her lifetime, don't misunderstand me, but
Yes.
she like by the end of her life, like the last thing that I think she had to with like a Disney connection at least was in 1973. They added some of her art to contemporary resort rooms because people were complaining that they were too bland and boring. But those were removed back in like the 1990s, which is ironic because that's when she became a legend. But the thing is that like at that point, like she just kind of saw herself as either a has been or a never was, because again, this wasn't the career that she had planned on. She didn't want to work in animation. She again, I also want to point out a lot of places out there mark her as an animator, or even on IMDb she's listed
Just an
as a writer.
illustrator.
Yeah,
Oh,
she was a sketch artist,
yeah.
and what she did was very important, but she wasn't animating, she wasn't writing stories, she wasn't the story person. That wasn't her job. Her job was to give the feel and the light and the look. And she
The
did a
color,
great
the
job. And like you said,
illustration.
yeah.
Yep. And the emotion.
Like these days, we would just call it the overall vibes are Mary Blair vibes. And that's what she brought to the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
Kevin, I'm going to be completely honest. That was very depressing. Thank you for sharing that.
oh, yeah, no problem. That's what I like to do. I mean, it's one of those things where a lot of people leave things out of the story, and I feel like you should know the whole story.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I didn't really want to
let
know
you
that
know
part of the story.
that. I think it helps to know that she was a human being, you know? A lot of
Yeah,
people kind
well,
of put these characters on pedestals and act like, everything was perfect the whole way through, but it also helps you to like look at people in your own life today, like who are you not like respecting who deserves some respect? Because she definitely did,
yeah.
and she didn't get it.
It
There
also
are stories.
encourages you to pursue your own dreams, because guess what? Even if nobody else is seeing it right now, someday people could be talking about it on a podcast in 50 years.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That is
I
very,
also want
very
to point
true.
out that there's one source out there saying that the old El Rio del Tiempo ride over in Epcot was actually created by Mary Blair. They say like the scene in there was the concept arted by Mary Blair, but I don't think that's true because looking it up, it was actually Ex Atencio, Imagineer, famous for creating the lyrics to Yoho Yoho and Grim Grinning Ghost. He actually worked on this attraction by reaching out to some Southern California artist, Martinez, and I had the other name here a second ago. Oh, there it is, Ray Aragon, where they are the ones who actually designed this attraction. Whether they were inspired knowingly or not by Mary Blair, there were scenes in there that look Mary Blair-esque, which is why people assume that. But I don't believe it's true because again, that was designed from 1976
Her
to
style
1982.
influenced other style.
Yes, exactly.
Period.
So I just wanted to set the record straight on that too.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin. The record is set.
The record is set. You got anything else? Making sure
I think
before.
that's all my notes.
Okay.
I'm ready to armchair Imagineer.
Me too. All right.
else?
So you were talking, Sam, about how that we have so many different Imagineers, but especially Mary Blair has really inspired the work that for others to come. And over at We're in the Park, we're the same way. We are inspired by the details left by all of the Imagineers and all those details in the parks, and we highlight them in our We're in the Park games. So let's hear more about that.
Hey fam, what scavenger hunt are you doing?
Well, we are doing Where in the Park.
Do you guys know Where in the Park? Because we do.
We do.
So how you play this is that they give you a deck of cards with an image on it, and you get to look around and see where in the park that is.
And they're fun. So if you like to find stuff, this is what you need to do.
The amazing game, Where in the Park, right here.
If you're a seasoned Disney park goers as we are, it's a fun, challenging even for the hardcore Disney parks fan.
We have played the Where in the Park games that we felt like, ooh, we got
Still
this
a
in
challenge.
the bag. Oh no, yeah, still a challenge, a fun challenge though, not an impossible challenge.
Check
Yeah,
them
really
out.
they get really close to details, and you're like, I have never even seen that. I don't even know.
Where in the park have I seen that?
The great thing about these is that they're not in attractions and they're out in the open places. It's meant for families to play.
Besides people who've been there a lot, it's fun for people that are new to the parks as well, because you catch some of those details that you would probably miss when you're first going.
So there's images that you are finding on one side of the card, and then the other has the hint and the answer that you can reveal if you choose to.
Before it was just the hint and the answer, but now if you really want the land,
It'll tell you
they'll
where.
give you the land for an extra hint. You guys can take as long as you wish without the hint.
Yeah.
Without the hint, it's hard.
But that's what makes it fun.
But they do not just do Disney parks, obviously. What other parks do you guys actually cover?
Universal and
yeah.
all that good stuff.
East Coast, West Coast, and they're
Yes.
continuing to expand even more after that.
Check them out, whereinthepark.com, if you need to get some game packs. They are so much fun.
We appreciate We're in the Park.
They're awesome.
We love
Kevin and
that.
Amanda.
Get you some We're in the Park today.
Hell yeah.
Use promo code Walt's APT Podcast to save 10% at whereinthepark.com.
Yeah. Get you some We're in the Park games. All right. So it is time for I would say it's our favorite time of the show, and that is armchair imagineering. So, how this section of the episode goes is we have either a brand new attraction or eatery or something that is inspired by the work of the Imagineer that we're talking about, in this case, Mary Blair, or we're taking existing things and we're just kind of zhuzhing it up, we're plussing it a little bit. So, what, who wants to go first?
I can do
I'm
because I'm
shocked.
really excited.
Okay, I'm
Let Sam go
okay, so
first.
we talked about this before we hit record, and Kevin and I are shocked. It's not the direction you think Sam's gonna go. Long time listeners. Go
Yeah.
for it, Sam.
So, I'm redesigning the ride in the Temple in the Mexico Pavilion in Epcot, the Grand Fiesta Tour, and I am gonna reimagine it and make it less lifelike scenes and more murals in Mary Blair style. So I'm gonna like swap out, those live action scenery pieces with murals full of like flowers and suns and simple shapes. I've actually spent tons of time planning this one out because I was really excited about this one and lots of colors. I even did like a scene by scene for this one. We will get a little bit of a makeover for Donald and Jose and Panchito to make them more of like a cartoony style, more like storybook illustrations, and then adding in extra side characters. So dancers, birds in a playful, whimsical style. And then my weakness for projections. I try to work them into every time I do a reimagining. So imagine like flowers and stars and different patterns that are moving around you being projected while you're going through the attraction. It would add an extra like element of movement that I think the ride could benefit from. And I think like fun, whimsical postcards announcing the travels, kind of how it happens in the film, would, in Mary Blair style. Do it in Mary Blair style. So the first scene would like be the boat launch, and you would be going so you're in the Mexico Pavilion, and there is a very cheerful postcard arch that says Bienvenidos, and it's got Donald and Jose and Panchito and all of their colors, like I said, more animated than they look currently. And then you see in the next scene Jose and Panchito looking for Donald, and you get like these stylized cacti. Can you imagine what a Mary Blair cactus would look like? And desert hills in pink and orange and bright and yellow, just tons of vibrant colors, muralized instead of what we have. The street festival, like you can add in like the projections, like I said, dancers, birds flying around. And I think that river scene could also benefit from some projection mapping and just more vibrant color. So like the bridges having like murals on them too. And then the celebration at the end, like a Mary Blair styled fiesta, everything just popping, the characters moving all around, like piñatas, fireworks, dancers, all of these like elements just moving around you, bright, vibrant colors. And honestly, we could probably use a little bit better music too. But I haven't thought that far yet. Sorry, Kevin. I'm sorry, Kevin.
Mary Blair wasn't really music, so
I know,
that's fine.
but I'm reimagining the ride. Listen, I want to replace like the live scenes with murals, but moving murals.
I mean, the live scenes are not the best acting. I agree with that. Especially the one chef guy looking off in the wrong direction. I mean, it's fun every time. I laugh every time, but not sure why it's still there. But
yeah.
I just think everything being like interactive murals, like where the pieces move, and like you've got projection mapping to give it that like oomph element, so where it looks like it's popping out more. You're more ingrained in the scene and what's happening, rather than you're just a passive observer in a boat watching these things happen on screens. I think it might be more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can totally see it, especially when you first said it, I was like, "Where are you going with this?" But no, I can absolutely see that. And that ride can definitely use some plussing. I agree with those screens. We can do without those, and definitely add in some updated technology and make it happen. So I agree. Okay, well then, if we're getting updated music, who's doing the music?
Great question. Who do you think should do
Hopefully.
the music, Amanda
Oh,
Oh,
or Kevin?
I was gonna say hopefully someone from Mexico would be nice.
Yes. So
Yes.
that is something that Disney has started to do better in more recent years, is having cultural buy-in into attractions. So I think that rather than having Imagineers involved, like she was involved in that tour of South America, but that's not an authentic buy-in as far as cultural awareness goes. So I agree, Kevin.
I agree. My first thought was the mariachi divas from DCA. That they're at other
Nice
theme parks
world.
too, but I mean, you have that one scene where you have like the dancers and everything, and it just kind of reminded me of them. So uh, yeah, I agree. I agree. Somebody who's actually from that area and can have authentic sound would be great.
And I think we can really bring them, like adding the moving projection mapping pieces can bring murals to life. I feel like the technology is
Definitely.
there. We just don't use it enough.
All right. So,
what do you guys got?
Well,
Right. So you have a
Kevin
lot
and
more
I had like
details than I have. Yeah, I just
yeah,
have
right.
a
I think
general like right.
together.
Yeah, I
All
think
right,
we're both
present it, pitch it
like
to me
this.
together.
It's so simple. Like I don't know if it needs more explanation, right?
But Kevin, this is a
Where
blue sky session. You just throw it out there and then Amanda pluses it. Let's go.
I was gonna have Amanda do. That's a good idea. I
Oh,
will
it's
say my
fine.
part, then Amanda, you plus it. I love this.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
so
That sounds
so
good.
there's one attraction. I mean, as
There's
much as
one.
I agree that the Three Caballeros attraction also needs a good plussing, there's another Epcot attraction that desperately needs to be plussed, and that is the Journey into Imagination with Figment. And if we could
Talk
get
about
Mary
needing color.
Blair,
You were expecting me to say Journey into
yeah,
Imagination?
I don't know
Yes.
how you wouldn't think that.
Well, it's because I'm waiting for
Yes,
Tony Baxter to come take care of it.
if
So
he could
Tony
use
Baxter's
Mary
going to come in for this
Blair's,
project.
yeah. Again, Mary Blair's not going to do it. Let's be clear about
No.
this. We already covered that, sadly. But as far as like having her style and her vibes in there, it would be amazing to have it where
It
instead of
writes
like the
itself.
dark rooms you're in right now, and we're just kind of feels kind of gross, to have it where every room you go into is alive with Mary Blair like vibe. Oh, I would just,
That
Yes.
would
I
be
don't again,
amazing.
I can't room to room describe like how each one would flow, but
I love that you
Amanda,
both
what do
had
you?
that same idea. I didn't even go that way. Also, for our audio listeners, I am definitely sitting here hugging Figment now that they started talking, because I mean, he needs to be here for this conversation.
Yes.
That's why
So
we
yeah.
assumed she would go there as well. Yeah,
I love
we know
Figment.
her
Yeah.
love for this
It was
attraction.
going to
Well, not
be
for the attraction, but for Figment.
Well, and
it
the
was going to be
attraction.
one of those like everybody say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Journey into Imagination. But I'm glad that we talked about it before we started recording because that would be really awkward. But no. So we always brainstorm our armchair imagineering sessions separately so that we have our own creative ideas, and then we come together of like, okay, are we stepping on each other's toe? Like do you have the same thing? We kind of like build off of it before we start recording. So I walk in to Kevin's work area, and um, if you guys don't know, we're married, Kevin and I.
What?
What? Just so for new listeners,
Since
Right.
when?
for
Just
10
happened.
years now. So
Just over.
anyway, so I go in and I was like, okay, what's your idea for armchair imagineering? And because I only have the one idea, and that's Journey into Imagination. He goes, yeah, that's the right answer. So
Well,
I
mine was
think
wrong then, Kevin.
but no, yours makes
Correct.
sense.
Yeah. No,
Yours
yours is
makes
fine.
sense. It's not wrong. But no, it's just like what Kevin said. You need bold color.
Yeah.
You need whimsy. You need the journey into imagination should be the ultimate blue sky. Everything is possible and
Yes.
shapes that don't normally go together and colors that you wouldn't normally put together. You can still keep the same track. That's fine because it's going room to room to room, but lose the five senses. We're done with that. We don't need that in our storytelling anymore. Um, and just go all out, Mary Blair style, each room being something different. It could be something from a painting that she did, a piece that she did that we're bringing it to life. We're bringing story elements and creating a world around it. So as you go deeper into the room, it comes to life. You could have projection mapping. You can have the music.
Imagination meets emotion.
There it is. There it is.
I do have a request.
Sam.
Figment's still there.
Rainbow Corridor comes back.
Yep.
And Dreamfinder comes back.
Absolutely.
100%.
But everything else, I full-heartedly agree with every word that you're saying.
Yep.
Continue.
You definitely need, because you need some, you can have them be the narrator through the whole thing, going from story to story. Yeah, they are definitely there. So you have that bit of nostalgia, but also the new with the new technology, and it just let's
I
go.
love this because we don't need, like you said, five senses. Okay, every 5-year-old knows their five senses, right?
Yeah.
We need, how do you turn creativity, what's in here, into reality? What does that look like? What does that feel like? How can you make, like my daughter would benefit so much from something like that because she is such a tiny little artist and I love it. And she has all of these creative ideas and she just makes things happen. But I feel like there's so many kids who have these ideas, so many, even young adults that have these ideas where they don't know how to take what's here and turn it into something that's magical that they get to share with everyone else. And that's what Mary Blair did. She took things that were impossible and created an inspiration. And Walt said, no, this is what we're making happen. Figure it out. So I love this.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited. Sorry.
And
You
then
guys
at
got me all
the
fired up.
end, no, this is good because at the end, you go into that imagination pavilion area. And so that is all rethemed to be more of a, okay, now you're inspired to create. And so there it is. There's the popcorn bucket. She's ready. So it just continues that theme into an interactive space. And so you can have different things for families to do, for littles to do, all of these things.
Oh, I've always said that.
That does not require iPads. Can we please do something other than iPads? I get it. I understand, but there's other ways to be creative and tangible and all the things without having iPads. So I think that is also really important to show that there is a way to be creative outside of screens. So yeah.
And even
let's fix it.
taking things from screens and giving your kids opportunities to build hands-on things from that. Like screens are good for getting inspiration, getting influence, but then use that to develop your own concepts beyond that. Like my daughter, I'm going to use her as an example. She just had to do like an about me bag for school the other day. And she took her art projects with. She built, so she loves that, the new movie that all young children are talking about right now. It's like the K-pop Demon Hunters or whatever it is. So it's about it, and it's age appropriate. It is age appropriate, but they're like these little K-pop group that fight demons. And it's animated. And she created this like 3D hex key out of paper and like stuffed animal stuffing and tape, and took that and said, this is my favorite show. And like, and then she created bracelets that she shared with her teacher and stuff. So give your kids opportunities to do these hands-on things, even if they're being influenced by other things, because kids they have pop culture influences. Give them an opportunity to use that to grow their own opportunities, grow their own experiences. I love, and I've said it a million times before, Putting imagination into the Imagination Pavilion, giving families and young children opportunities to actually create, to take something from their imagination. Hell, put freaking Legos in there for all I can think of, and let kids build and build something. Like, put just a bunch of art supplies in there and let them do something. Give them a STEM project. Give them a creative opportunity to just do something. And honestly, you'll be surprised. You will be surprised by how long they will spend in that pavilion using their own modalities. And then you're creating future Imagineers in that space.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of all the kid cot activity spots that they have around Epcot. How many kids do you see at those areas that are just coloring? Which is great. I'm glad that they have those spaces, but let's take that to the next level. And in this space, you have different zones for different age groups that could be working on different things. So if you have like littles, they're over on this side. If you have, so you have different things. And talk about rewritability, because as they grow older, they're going to pick up something new.
And you can have people who create different challenges in that space monthly, regularly. It's nothing for, I'm a teacher. Mary Blair wanted to be a teacher at one point. We create these challenges almost on a daily basis for kids in schools. It's expected of us. Disney has the capability of doing the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, and if we lived closer, like, heck yeah, I would be there every single month and be like, hey, what are we making? Let's go.
Amanda, let's be completely honest. You would be inspiring Disney to create the challenges. You would be helping them make the challenges. You would find a way to make it happen.
I'm down for that. Let's make it happen.
Sign her up.
Disney, hi.
Disney, we've told you multiple times. Call us.
Anytime.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
Slip into our DMs.
Not slip. It's slide, Kevin. Kevin is not hip.
I don't do either. Let's be honest.
You slide into
he does
the
not
DMs.
do
You don't
so.
slip
You
into them.
can slip and slide. I think that's the saying.
If you slip into the DMs, that's embarrassing. Sliding into the DMs is smooth. Unless you get rejected.
That sounds embarrassing either way.
Sorry about you.
Oh. I don't know how
Anyway.
This is confusing. But anyway, so you guys had fun on your soapboxes. So we've covered all of Mary Blair. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
Soapboxes. I think we made some pretty valid points.
All right.
I think we made some pretty valid
Figment
points.
agrees with
just
us.
Park wide. Yes.
Let me just text Disney on this fake cell phone my daughter made for me. That's like 3D and
do that.
I'm just gonna text them right now.
It's also K-pop demon slaying in there.
Perfect.
I don't knock it till you read it or watch it. I don't even know.
Whatever you do with it, I have no idea. You probably slip into it, as far as I know.
You can borrow my cell phone to Google it. You can Google it.
If you have enjoyed this episode like we have, then please scroll down on your podcast player and give us that 5-star rating. And if you have an extra minute to leave a written review or share it with another armchair Imagineer, that would be amazing. It takes only 2 seconds and it tells Apple, Spotify, and all the other players that we are doing something awesome. And it really helps out the channel. If you're checking us out on YouTube, hello. Give us a subscribe and a like and all the fun things so you never miss an episode. Be sure to check out our amazing sponsors, our absolutely free Discord, and our Patreon page for all the details. Links to everything are in the show notes below. And until next time, continue to place trust in the magic of imagination. And remember, the details within the parks surround us in our everyday lives. Imagine that. Bye for now.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past. And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.